So today I'm going to finally have a go in the Hyundai Ioniq 5. I think I've been waiting well over a year to have a go in this car. I've loved it since the day it came out. The styling reminds me very much of the original Hyundai Pony. What's that, from the early 80s I think that was. Now this one is the Ioniq 5 Ultimate 73 kilowatt rear wheel drive plus. I'll put the spec up on the sheet later. This is going to be a very quick walk around and look at the car because we're at an event and don't have much time with either of these cars, but I had to have a go in the car because it's intrigued me from the day it's come out. The first full-fledged ground up Hyundai EV, but also a real iconic design and really interesting. In fact, let's have a look at the design. So quite an extraordinary design. I think there's nothing like it. I mean, look at these kind of incredible lights there. There's this, you know, there's like Tron-like or Tetris or something like that. It's just everything about this car is just so very unique. I mean, it's got this matte silver. The last time I saw a finish like that was probably on a DeLorean. It has this incredible look about it. Look at these slats on the side. I mean, the detailing on this is incredible. This line and everything about it, the way that it picks up the light, the way that it plays with the light. I mean, just look at it now in the sunlight. Even this kind of color, which should be a relatively plain color, really stands out. Incredible wheels. I mean, you wouldn't think that that flowery lotus petal sort of design would work on this kind of very angular, very sharp looking car. But again, at the rear, these kind of squares and this LED look, I mean, it's just absolutely extraordinary. I mean, and the thing really stands out on the road as well. I've seen a few of these out and about now, and they do stand out. The other thing I've got to say about them is that they're actually a lot bigger than you think. So there you go, little button under there opens up. You saw the orange lights come on there. Decent sized boot, I would say, but quite a lot of space taken up under the floor. I guess that's with batteries and chargers and first aid kits and stuff like that. It does have 60/40 split folding rear seats. So let's see what the rear space is like. Wow, it's as interesting inside as it is on the outside, I have to say. Nice bit of venting there. This is a nice material. This is an interesting sort of canvas back on it. Seems to, I mean, this seat is not set for my drive. I haven't got into that seat yet, so it's not really set for my driving position. So I can't say that it is, but even if it was, I would have loads of knee room. Once again, feet room, I think is the thing about electric cars, because the floors are higher. The foot room, maybe if you have big feet, that could be a problem, but otherwise it's not too bad. But yeah, it's a little bit tight, but the knee room's not an issue, the elbow room's not an issue, and headroom is not an issue either. You've got USBs back here, loads of space, armrest, child seat, Isofix anchor points. These are interesting. This design, the design of the rear seats, the rear lights, sorry, is carried through into the armrest in here. But yeah, really nice space to be. It feels very spacious in this sort of very light colored interior, so I think that's the way to go. But again, from inside you can see that it's actually a rather large car compared to the design, which in isolation looks small, but actually when you see it around other cars you see that it's quite big. So here we are, check this out. Look at that huge bin down, look at that huge storage space, that's very unusual. And an open cabin here, so like you can literally like right across here, there's nothing. Cup holders there, USBs here, I think that's it must be a charging, wireless charging there. Armrest is movable, and inside the armrest I believe there's another little pocket there. Loads of storage. Look at that, nice little tray there. It's like a tray rather than an actual glove box. There's a storage capacity, because there's storage there as well. This is absolutely incredible. So let's start this up. There you go. Look at that. I like that, the way that came on. There's one screen here. Nice straightforward volume knob there, so that's pretty straightforward. I like the way the design features of the outside are maintained. It's got heads-up display as well on this car. And what's that speaker right there? That's interesting, isn't it? So very interesting. Look at this steering wheel. That's just a 2-spoke steering wheel with drive modes there. That'd be interesting. We'll give that a try. And the gear selector is down here. That's unusual. And I wonder how that works. Just twist the knob, I guess. And I guess these are for regen. So let's give this a go. So just cruising along very quietly. Once I twisted the knob into drive, you just twist it up into drive and then down into reverse, and then I touched the accelerator and immediately it jumps. So it's like, I think it's a little bit of a used to have to get used to that a little bit, because it's very eager to go, that's for sure. But just very quietly, again, you know, full EV, very quietly cruising along with a kind of eerie kind of noise there in the background. It's kind of a humming, whistling noise, but that's about it. But yeah, just very nicely cruising along. Again, the ride is a little bit fidgety. they're just, just these electric cars, they just tend to pick up every little ridge and bump on the road because they transmit to the cabin, because the lower part of the car, I just feel that it's always a little bit stiffer, and I think that's what's actually going on here. But other than that, so far so good. We'll find out a bit more once we get out onto the driving route itself. The brakes are very eager as well. So there's something very eager about this car, both in terms of the accelerator and in terms of the braking. It seems to want to jump on these things very, very quickly indeed. So that's interesting. So let's start to build up some speed. So having said that, it's quite eager initially on the throttle. Once you ask it to build up some speed, it doesn't seem to be that eager to do that thing. So it's kind of like, yeah, okay, let's get moving. Oh, the lane keep steering assist is pretty aggressive on this car, because it immediately wants to correct what you're doing with it. That's for sure. The ride is again, it's a little bit floaty for a smallish hatchback. Of course, it's not a small hatchback, like as we've established. It looks like one, but it's not. But so far so good. Again, not a lot to feel from the steering, but the steering is proving to be quite accurate. The car is proving to be relatively sure-footed, not an issue so far. Brakes are just very eager on this car. They're not sort of calibrated to give a little bit of give. They just sort of come in straight away, sort of thing. This flat bottom steering wheel is a little bit interesting to play with here, that's for sure. So it's interesting. It's got this rear wheel drive, and it has a slight rear wheel drive attitude, where the front end is tucking in and the back end is just kind of, it's clinging on, and it's deploying the power. A little bit of movement I detected at the rear there. So again, in this bit here, just feeding the power on. So no understeer, not necessarily oversteer, but interesting anyway. Actually quite there's definitely a little bit of a pivoting motion going on here, where the car really wants to sort of dive into corners. This is a weird sort of car, but part of it doesn't feel like it wants to be sporty, and then suddenly part of it does feel like it wants to be sporty. So that's interesting, because the steering response, I don't know, I'm getting mixed signals from the car. On the one hand, it's telling me, yes, let's go, let's play, and on the other, it's like, no, I'm a big, comfy family car. Why are we doing this? So that's interesting, that really. There you go. When it tightens, it gets very interesting. That is that is interesting. And the brakes, again, are eager to start with, and yet when you really need them, you have to really go press on them hard. So there's a little bit more effort required. So not quite as eager under speedy conditions, if you like, as it is under sort of normal conditions. This is a very interesting car. Builds up speed very nicely. The lane keep is very aggressive, as I've said, and lots going on. The lane keep really, the steering really wants to just take over, really, doesn't it? There's a little bit of an inconsistency in how it actually behaves once you start to press on. I guess around town it would actually be a very, very comfortable, easy car and safe car to drive. And I'm guessing that the size of it wouldn't really be that much of an issue, quite frankly, because it seems to be very, very easy to manage. That's not a problem. Also, because of its shape, it's quite easy to place, because I can actually see the bonnet out in front of me. I can almost see the extremities of the bonnet. So it seems to be that it's very easy to place this car. This is a car really that I'd like to try in the real world, because out in this artificial world, it's a little bit of a confused. It's a little bit confused about what it is and what it wants to do. You expect, okay, so if you go around that corner, slightly tight corner there, and you expect it to understeer when you really sort of push the accelerator through that corner as a typical hatchback, but it doesn't. It really holds tight. So again, it gives you an illusion that actually it's a little bit sporty, because it actually will hold the corner really well. But yet, it's a big car, and it's not necessarily one that you want to be chucking around. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting, but interesting in a good way. Interesting in a way that it would be a fun car to get to know better. Put it that way. As first dates go, this one has got me intrigued. You like that? That's what this is about. But I've got to say, I like the interior. I think this interior is fantastic. It matches the exterior. It's unique. It's different. It's got, you know, things that you can talk to people about. You know, it's a talking point of a car, really, isn't it? That's what this is. So, in that way, in that sense alone, it's worth the entry price, because you're like, well, I've got something that really stands out from the crowd, that people will be interested in, that people will look at, and that will make me feel that actually I've stepped into a future. I've stepped into the future of Hyundai. I've stepped into the future world of EVs and things like that. So very much a car that is showing you what motoring is going to be like, you know, going forward, you know, in the next decade or so. So yeah, fantastic snapshot of Hyundai's look into the future. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think of the Hyundai Ioniq 5. I'll tell you what, it was worth the wait.
A big shout out and thanks to Jay Williams over at AirTechnic, who are top tier sponsors of Brown Car Guy. Check them out at AirTechnic Co UK for exhausts, brakes, suspension and body kits. Plus our other major sponsor, Nayagen Solutions. Much appreciation also to tier 4 sponsors, Muhammad Ali Humaid, Tom Conway Gordon and Reza Adil. And of course all these other guys who supporting on Patreon. Brown Car Guy is eternally grateful. Hey, think about joining them over at Patreon.com Brown Car Guy. If you can't, don't worry. Just make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube channel and website. Plus follow on social media by searching for Brown Car Guy.